Welcome to the Ocean Race Summit, streaming live from The Hague. I'm Umberto Tan, your host for today. We were meant to be meeting in person, but like many of you, we have had to adapt and adjust to changing circumstances, just like the ocean races who inspire us so much. So it's my pleasure to host this summit online, where now we can have people joining us from all across the world. Let's look into this a bit deeper with our next guests and consider how we can draw on that winning spirit in our race for the ocean.
There's really a formula for achieving action. Often conservationists really focus on creating outrage and the logical argument for why we should act. But you also need optimism and excitement. And it's that excitement especially that is really needed to get to action. And that's where working with partners like the Ocean Race makes all the difference, because that's the epitome of ocean racing. It's about excitement, and conservationists can't bring that to an issue like this.
Could you bring that same winning mentality as you describe it and approach as well to saving our oceans as well? Because we're trying to find common ground in how your winning strategy on the ship can we use it as non-sailors.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Sharing this collective dream and growing your resilience because you focus very well. You give each other positive feedback and put a focus on those behaviors that help you to strive for this dream. Another thing is always keep your eye on those things you already accomplished. And then from there, look at what you still have to do. It's a mind trick, and it helps you to be optimistic and resilient again. Because normally we feel that it takes willpower to reach for those big dreams. But willpower is a muscle that tires off. So it is all about this growth system, and it works with cleaning oceans too.
You're seeing the narrative in sports sponsorship change. It's becoming a lot more cause-based in all sport, but in particular ocean racing. And that's what we have here with 11th Hour Racing. And I think as athletes, as leaders of the team, founders of our organization, I think we have the responsibility to lead by example. And I think it starts at the top. And I think the way that we work with our partners, the way that we challenge them, the way that we try to enact change, the way that we prioritize ocean health and sustainability in our organization, the way that we try to educate our team members to make it a priority and to make them good ocean health advocates and communicators around the subject matter. And it takes that shared goal, that shared vision to actually start moving the needle on some of this stuff. And we pride ourselves on the fact that, you know, we're a very small part in a big problem, which can oftentimes seem overwhelming, but it's important we all get on the same page.
But how can we translate that awareness into action? Well, joining us is Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, author of the best-selling book, Blue Mind. Blue Mind has been named one of the top wellness trends of 2020. Tell me, what is Blue Mind?
Well, Blue Mind simply is a phrase that refers to the mildly meditative state that we feel when we're near, in, on, or underwater. It puts us into a calm, creative, connective, even collaborative mode that's different from red mind, which is our more agitated, distracted action mode. So the book came out in 2014, and every year there's been even more research that just doubles down and triples down on this basic idea that when we're at the water, when we're on the water, it puts us into a different state of mind that is calmer and healthier, which is particularly important in our stressed out world.
And how do you think our renewed or nurtured connection to the ocean can help us to be better custodians of our blue planet?
Well, you're right. I think this is a very intuitive idea, but we want to make it common knowledge. We want everybody to understand not only the intuitive part of it, but the scientific part of it, and really value all of what the ocean gives us. It gives us so much in terms of ecological and economic benefits, but it also gives us these massive, measurable, critically important emotional benefits. And so that's the conversation that we're really promoting. And if we fix that value equation around the ocean, I think good things will happen. If we undervalue the ocean, bad things happen. But when we properly value the ocean for all of that it gives us, then I think we'll start to repair what's broken.
Liz Bonnen was immersed into the plastic pollution issue through her documentary, Growing in Plastic. Let's hear what she has to say on the state of plastic pollution today and what lies ahead.
Single-use plastic and the ocean plastic crisis raced to the forefront of global consciousness during the 2017-18 edition of the Ocean Race. A perfect storm seemed to have formed, and around the world we witnessed extensive media coverage, public outcry and action, as well as government pledges and commitments. So have these past 3 years of action and planning begun to turn the plastic tide? Well, the problem is, the plastic keeps coming. 10 million tons of plastic currently enter our oceans every year. And in just 5 years' time, the amount of plastic in our oceans will have trebled. The scientific evidence is clear. This plastic crisis will not be solved through cleanup campaigns, taxes, or the production of recycled plastic goods alone. We need to turn the plastic tap off at the source and embrace a new culture of reuse, refill, and repurpose in support of the environment. The ocean plastic problem and other environmental crises have one thing in common. They can all be solved with a global paradigm shift in how we choose to live on our blue planet. When we rely on an outdated economic model that demands unrestrained patterns of production and consumption, endless extraction of natural resources, and relies on infinite growth, the health of our planet suffers. It's time for bold and innovative industry and policy leadership, and for the public to make their voices heard and to be part of the solution by supporting such 21st century leaders. All the solutions are at our fingertips. It's time to act as a global community, as if our lives depended on it, because they do.
Let's hear from His Serene Highness Albert II, Sovereign Prince of Monaco, who is a long-time supporter and advocate for our ocean.
Dear friends, we all know how difficult change is, especially when it affects our way of life. Whether moving away from carbon dependency or ending the irresponsible exploitation of the seas, rapid change often seems impossible. In just a few weeks, we have seen that the changes of our lifestyles have had an immediate impact on the state of our seas. These changes are encouraging, but of course, are inadequate to ensure the future of our seas, as they are likely to be quickly forgotten if, after the crisis, we return to the same patterns of behavior as before. If we go back to our selfish and destructive development paradigm, which has damaged the marine environment so badly. That is why I'm delighted to give my support to this excellent idea of the ocean race. I believe that this initiative is one that will help accelerate and facilitate change. I believe that these ocean race summits and the race platform are extremely important for ocean conservation because they are focused on sporting values and the spirit of adventure that they represent as they mobilize new and positive resources. I believe that the best solution we have today to win the race of restoring ocean health consists in bringing out the best in all of us. Protecting the environment is not a punishment. It is a tough but beautiful challenge. For these reasons, your initiative is of particular value. I therefore hope that your discussions will offer you the opportunity to elaborate on these points so that together we succeed in bringing about genuine change for our oceans and for all those who depend on them, in fact, humanity as a whole. I hope you have highly successful discussions. Thank you.
Ambassador Thompson, can I come to you first and ask you to give us a brief overview of the most pressing issues that our oceans are facing and what developments have been made in the past year?
Well, thanks for the question. Indeed, the ocean's health is not in good shape. The trends are not the way we would like them to be. There are 5 essential problems going on in the ocean. One is that of overfishing by humankind, obviously, and harmful fisheries practices. The second one, which I'd point to, is marine pollution, debris, mainly from land-based activities. And then I should also point to the effects of greenhouse gas emissions, which are ocean acidification, the deoxygenation of the ocean, and warming of the ocean. And if you think warming of the ocean, you've got to think rising sea levels and death of coral and poleward movement of species. So we've got our work cut out for us.
What for you remains the biggest obstacle to really solving these crises for our oceans?
The greatest obstacle we face is political will, and that extends from the very top right down to communities. We have to understand that the ocean is in trouble and that it's within our means to fix that and to reverse that trend. So look, if I refer to 2015, I think most people know what I mean when I talk about the two great agreements, the Paris Climate Agreement and the UN's Sustainable Development Agenda. And if we implement faithfully those agreements reached in 2015, our children and grandchildren will have a healthy place on this planet. If we choose to ignore them, they will be in jeopardy. And I have mentioned SDG 14. That is part of that 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. And it's SDG 14 sets out to conserve and sustainably use the ocean's resources. So likewise, there's work to be done, and we can do this on target as long as we set our minds to it.
And so how does a globally recognized car company go about transforming itself in order to help to provide us as a global species with a more sustainable future?
Having the possibility to move is in principle something very positive. I think we should be very careful in saying now we should stop traveling, we should stop moving, because that is really the best way of creating a cultural understanding between people is to travel. And we pick up on that and say, okay, we should be able to deliver this movement in a sustainable and safe way. And I think that's something also why we're exciting being part of the ocean race, because the ocean, I think, is also really symbolizing communication and travel and trade. And all of those are a really good way of creating cultural understanding. I think in the long run, it has proven really to be the best way to avoid conflicts and war.
And the way you talk about your sports and the way you talk about CSM, sport and entertainment, and World Athletics, do you think that same mindset can be used into beating what we have with our environment and in order to have a cleaner ocean, for instance?
Yes, absolutely. But look, there are two things that have come out of this pandemic for me. Firstly, that while a large part of the world is struggling to breathe, the planet for the first time is breathing properly. If you look at our large cities, you look at India, you look at China, you look even at London, we have reversed, because we've reversed some of the air cleanliness for the first time in 40 years. And I think there are things that have really come to the fore. People are talking about the climate, they're talking about the environment, they're talking about ecological issues in the way that they weren't beforehand. I'm now mastering technology, and you and I are speaking on a system that I wouldn't have even known existed 6 weeks ago. So I think there are lots of things that we are all probably finding out about ourselves, and maybe we are going to sit as communities and figure out there may be ways of working more sensibly, more cost effectively, and have less dramatic impacts on our own family lives and ecosystems. It's important that, meetings are conducted face to face, but not every meeting has to be conducted face to face. And if you have a strategy in your company for sustainability, then maybe we all sort of ought to be living to that, rather than just thinking that this is a nice academic piece of work, but it's sort of for somebody else to worry about, not me. I think people will focus a lot more on the differences that they can make, and maybe even make judgments about their own work-life balance as well.
What are your main takeaways from the day?
Well, above all, Roberto, it's the wonderful and great people that today has really shown that they care for and they want to contribute to a healthier planet. And this commitment, to me, it seems like it's even more honest and more stronger than ever, despite, or maybe it is because of the current crisis we are going through. And in ocean racing, I have learned the hard way that we often come stronger out of a crisis. And maybe today was the beginning of that, maybe. But my three initial takeaways is that the first one is take more responsibility. And I come from sport, we are athletes, and I know we can and we shall and we must take on more responsibility for nature and for society, because we can. You are the ocean and the ocean is you, and there is no separation because life is animated in water. We are water. And if we get that into our head, we will handle and respect the ocean as if it was a brother or sister of ours. That could change things significantly. And thirdly, this is a proven solution. Goals are powerful. And in sport, we know the power of setting goals. We have our podiums. And in ocean conservation, setting and aligning around goals and targets have also worked very well.
What happens next for the Ocean Race Summits?
Well, we are the relentless type, so we just keep working and the work intensifies even more. And in parallel, we continue our work around education, around science, that all sits within our Racing with a Purpose concept. And talking of science, I have the great pleasure of letting you know that the next Ocean Race Summit will take place in September 2020 in Newport, Rhode Island in the United States. And one of the topics will surely be science. My final solution to you that I said in the beginning is very simple. That's what Magnus Olsson says. A happy crew is a fast crew, and a fast crew is a winning crew. So stay positive, and thank you, The Hague, and thank you, all of you.